We are very excited to have JJ. Let's give him a nice AADL welcome.
Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate it. Can everyone hear me through the mic, or do I need to move anything? Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. It's so good to be back. I think this is maybe the third or fourth time that I've done something of this ilk here to talk about what's new in access technology. I believe the last one was on Zoom 2020, so that was a recorded remote thing. So I haven't done this in person in a long time, so always good to be back and do this. I created a resource page, and I'll repeat this address a couple times now and also at the end, because I'm going to mention a bunch of things today, and a lot of them have websites or email addresses. So I created a page that has them all in one spot, all right? So this is also, by the way, if you go to the Visions page on the AADL site, they also link to it from my talk, which I really appreciate Katie doing that. So here it is. It is bit.ly/visionsat. So bit.ly/visions, VISIONSAT, all lowercase. And I can repeat that again if people want me to, or at the end. But what I did on that page is many of the things that I'm going to mention over the next 40 minutes, I have linked to on that page. So that way you can just kind of go there, and it has all these resources and links for you all in one spot. I'm going to go through a lot of what's new in access technology. I'm going to probably take the next 25 to 30 minutes, and then I will leave plenty of time for questions. So we'll do questions at the end. For those of you who don't know me, I am blind myself, so you can raise your hand, but if you do that, you'll just be stretching. I encourage that. Exercise is a good thing, but we will have to do a more verbal thing for raising hands. So I also do a podcast. It hasn't been weekly lately, I guess. I'm sorry I didn't update the bio. It's just been really busy, but we have been putting up some new episodes of the podcast, the Blind Bargains Qast, where we try to do a lot of access technology interviews and news and things like that. So definitely encourage you to search for that on your podcast app of choice as well. So I'm going to cover a lot of different topics this afternoon. I know some may apply to more of you than others, so I'm going to try to cover just a variety of things, and hopefully something might stick with you. It might be useful to you. So I'm going to start with phones. And of course, for some of you, this will be old hat, because while this is what's new in technology, I want to get people up to speed as well on what's available. Because often someone who's losing their vision especially, or just doesn't know, thinks, well, I can't see enough to use my phone anymore, so I can't use a phone. And that's not true. There are lots of options that are available to help people that are blind or low vision. And I'm pretty much using, when I say blind today, that also means low vision. I'm just being all inclusive here. But there are many ways to use a phone. So if you have an iPhone, how many iPhone people do we have in the room? Go ahead and clap. All right. Quite a few. Any Android people? Yay, me. Oh. And one other person, maybe? Anyone who doesn't have a smartphone in the room? Okay. Wow, we have lots of iPhone people here. Cool. So I will just kind of briefly go over, but I think some of you may know these things. Of course, the iPhones and Android phones have accessibility tools built in. The most common one that we are familiar with as a blind person is VoiceOver, which is the tool that will read everything that is on the screen to you. It changes how you work with your phone. Oh, wow, that's an old talking calculator from the 80s. This here. So VoiceOver changes how your iPhone works with you. So everything that is on the screen, when you touch the screen, it'll read what you are touching. And then if you actually want to activate or open the thing that was just spoken, you tap twice, double tap, dun-dun, and then it will actually open the thing that was just spoken. So if you are someone who prefers to use speech, or maybe your vision is to a point where you can't read magnification that much anymore, VoiceOver is probably the way to go. And there is a lot of training that's available that can help people with that, depending on where you live. But for some people, VoiceOver might be overkill. Maybe you're not to the point where you need VoiceOver, where you need speech all the time. There's a couple things to point out. One is there are a lot of different accessibility options and choices. So if you remember one thing about smartphones, if you go to settings, and then under settings, there will be an option called accessibility. So under accessibility, it has all sorts of things. So it has voiceover, like I just mentioned, but it has zoom, which will make the text bigger on your screen. It has a way to invert the colors. So maybe if you need things white on black or black on white, you can change that. You can make the font bigger or smaller. You can access options that, well, you know what, I don't need to speak all the time. I just wanted to talk once in a while. So there are a lot of different things that you can do, you can play with. There are also options for other disabilities. So if you need options for hearing, that's also available as well as many other situations that are available. And it's all built into the iPhone. It's all free. It comes with every single iPhone and every modern Android phone that is available. All of the accessibility tools are built in. That is something that Apple led the way on going back about 15 years now, and really lets you use your iPhone. So, because sometimes we get into this thing where it's, oh, I can use my iPhone, but I use Siri. Anyone who who's used Siri, you know that Siri has limitations is a nice way to put it. You know, Siri is like an intern that you just hired on the first day. Sometimes they can figure out exactly what you want to do, and sometimes they're like, I have no idea. So relying on just Siri isn't going to be able to do everything, because you can't say, hey, Siri, get me an Uber. Or, you know, you can do some of the things. You could say, hey, Siri, open Uber, and it will open the app. But then you need to know how to use one of those other tools like VoiceOver or Zoom to actually move around the screen and navigate. There are lots and lots and lots of blind and low vision people that are using smartphones. It is definitely a doable option. I know it can be a little intimidating. Oh, the phone's flat. How do we work with the phone? It's flat. But remember, it's always going to talk to us. It's always going to tell us what's available. One thing that you can do with a smartphone is you can connect an external Bluetooth keyboard. So if you wanted to use your phone, but maybe when you got to, say, doing email, you wanted to have a way to type it out, well, then you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard. And Bluetooth just means wireless in a sense. It's, you can connect it in up to about 25 feet away, and you can connect anything via Bluetooth. And essentially what you do is you just introduce your phone to your keyboard, you know, kind of like they're on a first date. Say, hey, phone, this is a keyboard. They connect to each other, and then you can start typing on your keyboard whenever that keyboard is near your phone. It won't connect to somebody else's phone by mistake. So that's one way that you can kind of make the phone a little easier for you. There's lots and lots of resources out there. I included an email address near the bottom of that list for a company in Detroit called iLearn. EYE Learn, they're based in Detroit. They do a lot of accessibility training, both in person and remotely. I highly recommend them. And Athir, who works with them, is at my table back upstairs. If the iPhone or the Android is just, you know, too much, for anyone who's like, I just don't need all of that stuff, that's totally fine. You can also get some simpler phones. One that we have is called the Blind Shell. The Blind Shell is a simpler phone that has buttons. So the good thing is it does have things like tactile buttons. It has a headphone jack. Remember those? Yes, the Blind Shell has one. It has speech. It still will read you everything. And it can also do larger print. And it will do some, emphasis on some, apps. So you can read books. You can do things like you can use, say, the Zoom app on your phone, but it does not have Uber. It does not have Instacart for groceries, things like that. So it has a limited selection of apps. That's one of the limitations of the Blind Shell. But for some people who maybe don't want as much fancy smartphone smarts, it's certainly an option that you could think about. If you are going Android, I definitely recommend that you stick with either the Google branded phones. So those are the Pixels. The latest ones are the Pixel 8. There's also the Pixel 8a. Those are the current phones. Or Samsung. Samsung phones, the latest ones are just fine as well. And in fact, new upper end Samsung phones are coming with 7 years of free updates. So yeah, it's not, you don't have to, we're to the point now you don't have to buy a new phone every other year. And I think that's really cool because why? We've gotten to that point now where you can just, buy a phone and actually use it for a couple days. And I think that's really cool. Right? So one thing, by the way, that I'll still mention on phones, for both iPhone and Android, there is a thing called the accessibility shortcut. So on the iPhone, it used to be you tap the home button 3 times, but now the phones don't have the home button. So now you tap the side button 3 times. So whatever your favorite accessibility tool is, so whether it's VoiceOver or Zoom or something else, you can set it up so you press that side button or the home button 3 times, and just like Wizard of Oz, it'll turn it on and it will appear for you. So that's a great, say if if you have a phone and you have a family member who's not using the speech or whatever, that's an easy way to turn it on and off. So whenever you grab the phone, you can turn it back on, and if they're taking the phone, they can turn it back off. If you're on Android, you can do the same thing on most newer phones by holding down the up and down volume button at the same time for about 3 seconds, and that will also turn on and off accessibility. So again, if you do it the first time, it'll talk you through it. And the one thing to remember of all of this is that you can go to accessibility settings, and that will give you all of that information about the phone. So lots of phone options. I tell you these things especially because if you go to a phone store and you say, I need a phone that will work for a blind person, most people there, they just don't know. And right, and oh yeah, this phone talks. It reads the caller ID. Yeah, that's great until you need to do literally anything else. So, it's really good to kind of think about, when I think about a phone or really any piece of technology, I want something that I can use by myself all the time. I don't want to have something where, it works except for whenever the battery dies, I have to have someone who decided to turn it back on for me. I don't want that. That's no good. I want to be able to use every single piece of technology by myself independently. So think about that. Your iPhones especially, and Androids, and the blind shell are options that you can use for that. So in addition to keyboards that I mentioned, you can also connect a Braille display. So a Braille display lets you read Braille and write in Braille to your phone. I'll mention in a minute. If you're not familiar, you can actually now get a free one from the library. That's just awesome. You can connect that to your iPhone and soon this summer to Android as well. So that's a little bit about phones. Obviously, I've done entire presentations for 2 hours on phones. So, I kind of really condensed that down into a short bit. But for everything that I mentioned, feel free to contact me. Go to the website, the atguys.com website. If you ever have questions, we're always happy to help you understand the things that we're talking about, because I'm trying to cram a lot of information into about 30 to 40 minutes. So moving on, sorry, I'm just jumping through my notes here. I'm using a Braille display myself, actually, so to read my notes here. I want to talk about some apps that are available, some of the newer apps that are available on phones. We didn't think we'd get through an entire presentation today without me mentioning AI somewhere, right? And that's the thing. Has anyone here used the regular Be My Eyes app before? Again, don't raise your hand and clap. I'm not going to, okay, one or two. Okay. So has anyone here heard of Be My AI? All right. Yeah. This is my favorite new app of the last year, the favorite new tool of the past year. So what we've had for a while, so Be My Eyes, just to reset, is an app that's been around since 2015 on iPhone and on Android, and even on the blind shell, actually, that you can connect with a volunteer, just a random person somewhere else in the world that speaks the same language as you, and you can ask them random questions. Like I would use them, for instance, to, hey, I'm in this hotel and I don't know how to use the thermostat. Can you tell me what it's set at or what the button's at? To be clear, I would not use it to say, hey, I have this new credit card. Can you read me the number? You laugh, but I want to point that out. So remember, you're talking to a random person who probably has good intentions, but just be careful when you're doing something like that, right? The new feature with Be My Eyes is called Be My AI, and it will give vivid descriptions of pictures. It doesn't matter. We can either use it from inside the app, or we can share pictures from other things. So before, we had apps that would take pictures and you would say, chair, person. If you ever look on Facebook, image might contain dog. That's not very, oh, how cute. It's a might contain dog picture. Not very useful. So with Be My AI, you can now take a picture and actually get a vivid description. So Tyler, if you could spin my phone up here. Wait, once we get the
2:17 p.m.
All right, cool. This is my Android phone.
Unlocked.
So
Ask more button. Be my.
Oops. Oh no.
In
I
progress.
took a picture
Analyzing picture.
of the,
Please wait. Progress bar.
Hold on, we're not gonna
Take
do that
picture.
one. We're gonna-
Button.
okay.
Disabled. In progress.
picture of
Analyzing
the
picture.
podium. Now
Please
it's
wait.
accidentally pressed the
Progress bar.
button, so-
Take picture. Button. Disabled. Detected.
Hold on 1 second.
Ask more
We're gonna read this
button.
again.
Home. Ask. Take picture. Button.
reset the whole thing.
Detected.
All right.
Text. Take picture.
So what I'd like to do, with everyone's permission, I just want to take a picture of the room. You all cool with that? And we're going to see what it says about you all. So if anyone's sleeping in the corner,
Ask more. Take picture. Button.
is that enough volume
Detected.
for you guys? Or should
Text.
Tyler
Take
turn it up a
picture.
little bit? All right, I'm going to take a picture. 1, 2, 3.
Disabled. In progress. Analyzing picture. Please wait. Progress bar.
All right, let's see what it says about us. Well, not me. I was in the picture.
The picture shows a group of people seated in what appears to be a lecture hall or conference room. The room has a tiled ceiling with lights and a projector mounted on it. The people are sitting in rows of chairs, facing the front of the room. Most of the individuals are older adults, and they seem to be attentively looking towards the camera or the front of the room. The walls are light-colored, and there is a clock on the back wall. The overall atmosphere suggests a meeting, lecture, or presentation.
Thank you, Tyler. You can mute the phone now. Thank you. Yeah, so we've gotten a little further, right? So AI, yeah, sorry, I did call it. It said we have a whole bunch of older individuals. The last time I did this, it did say the group of the people appear to be paying attention. I'm like, oh, that's good. So AI, it does a lot of things really well. I mean, AI, as we know, has a lot of good, has a lot of things that we need to be thinking about. Like, there's going to be a lot of challenges with AI, but I think using AI to understand images is one of the really good things about AI that's available. That's available. Any of you here that have an iPhone, you can do this now. You can download the Be My Eyes app, and you can start taking pictures wherever you want to take pictures, and it will start describing them to you. You can also go into your camera roll in your photos, or on Facebook when someone posts a picture that might contain dog. You can go there, and then you just hit share. And then when it says, who do you want to share it to? You say, share it to describe with Be My Eyes. And again, it'll do it. And by the way, you could ask follow-up questions. So there's a button that says ask more. So I could say, well, what's the clock say? And it probably will tell me. It is important to mention with AI that sometimes it's not perfect, right? It has a pretty good picture. Sometimes it likes to fib a little bit. So just like everything else, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe take more than one picture if you really want to be sure of something. But it is such a fun app to play with. I'm a business owner, so I use it for a lot of business type things, like making sure that the graphics that I'm using and the websites are using are working well. Also, use it even just like for clothing and trying to figure out outfits. And it does actually pretty good with colors. A lot of color identifiers are not that good. This does pretty well with colors because the phone cameras are just quite good. And at least in a general sense can say, let's see, what color is my shirt right now? Blue? Perfect. See, you got it right. All right. Thanks. So yeah, it had it correct this morning when I did that, so it was able to figure that out. There are other options available on the Be My Eyes app, and the one I want to mention there is it's called the Service Directory. It used to be called Specialized Help, and these are companies and organizations. These are the paying customers of Be My Eyes. They've sponsored free access. So Google and Microsoft and say even Procter & Gamble have a service on there where you can live video chat someone at one of these companies and ask them for help about their thing. So if you had a question about a computer that was Windows, you could call the Microsoft desk, and someone at Microsoft can they can look at your screen and you can start asking them questions about Microsoft. Same thing with Google, and same thing with many, many other companies. They're not just tech companies. A lot of household brands, I think like Barilla Pasta is on there. So if you want them just to answer questions about spaghetti, you have someone that's there for you. One that I will point out, and it's under the blindness organizations section. You wouldn't think to ever look for this unless I mentioned it to you. The Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And this is all on that list, by the way. It's all on that website. And I'll give it again at the end. But they have a thing. They have free visual interpretation. So some of you may have heard of Ira. Ira is an app that you can call, and someone will provide visually, and they'll tell you what's around you. But Ira, you pay by the minute. It can be really expensive. Yeah. So this Massachusetts Association for the Blind is a free volunteer service that if you're in a situation that maybe Be My Eyes wouldn't be good enough, this is another resource that you can connect with, and they can help you with more complex things. So maybe it's sorting your mail or doing other things like that. Just a couple other apps to mention quickly. Seeing AI is one that has been around for a while, and that is an app that can do everything from read text. So you point your phone at text, and it will start reading it to you. It'll identify currency. It will not tell you if it's counterfeit, but it will identify the currency. So if you bring your legal tender, it'll tell you what's what. It'll identify food items, so it'll actually help you find the barcode. It'll keep beeping and beeping until you find the barcode, and then it'll tell you what the product is. So that's great if you want to make sure you're opening a can of soup and not a can of dog food, because one tastes better than the other for us. It has a light detector. It can do handwriting. It can actually understand most handwriting or a lot of handwriting. And also it can deal with images. Seeing AI has been on the iPhone for a long time and is now on Android. Yay. So for the two of us that it matters to, yes, it's also available on Android as well.
Okay, sorry, can I ask one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Are you saying Seeing AI
Yes.
or Be My AI?
So yeah, those are the two different apps. So Be My Eyes is the first app I mentioned.
Okay,
And the second app is called Seeing, SEEING, AI.
Seeing AI, and then what's Reading AI, another app?
No, that's not an app.
What is it?
I've never heard of it.
Oh,
It's an app we just made up.
I need ear help.
No problem. And all of the things that I mentioned are on that page, and I'll make sure we give out that information at the end again as well.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There's another cool app on the iPhone I want to mention. So there's a lot of apps for navigation and walking around. One of the newer ones that's come out is called OKO, O-K-O. And OKO will actually tell you the current status of most streetlights. So what it does, it looks for the little the walking man symbol, and when you point your phone at that, it will start beeping or vibrating or speaking, whatever you want it to do, and it will tell you. And obviously, you still need to listen to the traffic, but it will tell you, the status of the walk sign, and it's free. Again, you just point your phone at it. That one's just on the iPhone. I trust it as much as anything else, right? I started using it first at intersections that I am very familiar with. My first, for any street crossing, regardless of anything else, the first thing I'm doing is I'm listening for my traffic and the parallel traffic to cross the street, right? And this is a good kind of secondary tool to let me know that the light is green. So yes, I think I would definitely start out by using it at the lights that you know, and get the hang of it before you do anything more with it. And definitely do not use it to replace a cane or a guide dog. It is a thing to add on, just like GPS is, right? Okay. OKO. There's a couple websites that some of you might be familiar with. One is AppleVis, AppleVis. And that just has a directory of hundreds and hundreds of apps that are available. So if you're looking for, I wonder, there's an app that will do this. And they will tell you, if they have it listed up there, and there's lots and lots of apps up there. There's also Accessible Android, which does the same thing for Android phones. So that's just a little bit about phones and apps and things like that. Do I have any Braille readers or users in the room? One or two? Okay. I'll just kind of briefly, I'll condense a little bit. I'll just kind of briefly mention a couple of things that are available that are newer in Braille. One that I alluded to earlier is that the library in Michigan now is offering free 20-cell Braille displays. That's pretty amazing. When you think about these, it would cost you anywhere between $1,500 and $1,800 to buy one of these. But right now, while supplies last, you can call the library and you can get a Braille display. What can you do with that? A couple things. One, you can download books from Bard, the Braille books from Bard, and you can read them on the display. You can also connect it to your iPhone and soon your Android and actually control your phone from the Braille display or read your phone from the Braille display. So again, absolutely free. It's very similar to the one that I'm using right here. This is the HumanWare version. So it's very similar in size. I just held it up, like I said, about 6-7 inches wide, 3 or 4 inches top to bottom, and about an inch thick. So it's a nice, compact little display. And you can do what I just did, is I made a file of notes. It's actually the same file that's on that website. And I just copied it onto this display so I can read it during the presentation. So, it's a great way, and you can practice Braille. It's a good way to learn Braille. That's totally fine. That's what it's intended for. So even if you're a newer Braille reader and you're just learning, that's totally okay. What's it called? It's called the free Braille e-reader. If you call the library in Michigan, you say, I'd like to sign up for the free Braille reader, Braille display, there's only one that they have. There's a couple other new paid Braille displays that are out there. These are a little more expensive, ranging from a $3,000 40-cell version called the Braille eMotion to a 10-line graphic display that's $18,000. Woo! Yes. Now, that is expensive. We know that. I will say, the reason this is from the American Printing House, and it's called the Monarch. The reason they made this, and the reason they're doing it, the cost roughly to make one math book for a blind teenager can be anywhere up to like $30,000. So this somehow is actually a little bit cheaper. Now, it's very much cutting edge and new. The prices will come down. And the thing I'm really excited about with multi-line Braille, every Braille display, including the one I'm using right now, it's one line. So for anyone who can see or is used to using a monitor, just imagine if your entire visual thing that you have on the phone was condensed down to this one line of text. That's all you had. No context up or down, nothing more than 20 or 40 characters. It'd be like you're using a computer from the 1970s or something like that. That's what Braille displays are right now. So there are companies that are trying to change that. In addition to the American Printing House, there's actually a company local I want to shout out. They've been running around the building called New Haptics. And New Haptics is here in Ann Arbor and started with some students at U of M. They're working to the Braille and Speak. So it's a little note taker, has a calculator, clock, book reader, media player, other things like that. So that's just some of the Braille stuff. But there's a lot more than just Braille. So in addition to getting your free Braille reader, anyone here, if you want, you can request a free currency reader called the iBill. Yeah, and by the way, if you requested one like 7 years ago and it stopped working, you can ask for another one by this point. So again, that's from the library, the state library, and you can get an iBill. It's just a little tiny thing you stick in a bill. Again, it won't tell you if it's counterfeit, but you can stick in a bill, anything from 1 to 100, including a $2 bill, and it will beep or speak or vibrate to let you know what currency that is. So I sometimes think that's a little faster than using my phone, just because I can very quickly do that. So I really appreciate that.
Now, how do you get that again?
From the library.
This library?
The state library, I'm not sure if you can I'm not sure if you can get it through Washington or if you have to go through the state, but one or the other. If you ask these guys here, they can point you in the right direction. Mm-hmm. A couple upgrades have happened to book players over the past couple years. So there's a new version of HumanWare's Victor Reader Stream. The Victor Reader Stream is a player that plays all sorts of media formats, so audio books, the Bard books from the library, music files, all sorts of different things. The new version has more modern charging, which is USB-C, so just know that's the modern charging plug that everyone's using now. It has Bluetooth, so that's wireless as well, and it's about $500. They have a more advanced model called the Stellar Trek. The Stellar Trek is a stream that also does navigation, GPS, it has a camera, it can recognize text, it can do all sorts of different things, but it is also about $1,500. So it's out there. Hymns, well, it used to be called Hymns, and now they're called Selvis. And some of you might understand why Hymns changed their name to something that's not Hymns. Yeah, they were getting lots of calls. So Selvis North America now has a thing called the Sense Player. That's another media player that has an FM radio built in. It has, again, everything talks on it. It reads all sorts of books. And you can also control your phone remotely. So if you want to control your phone with some buttons, you can connect it to your iPhone, and you can use your phone remotely. So just to briefly mention, there's a few different things out there that are available. There's one more, talkingmp3players.com. Yes, no, it's a real site. These are kind of lower cost, a couple $100 MP3 players that they read lots of books. They don't do Bard. So that's one limitation, but they will just do lots of, if you just have a whole bunch of music files that you want to load on, you can go to that page and load that up. So let's see, where are we at for, okay, I see where we're at for time, cool. There's a couple other things to mention on the portables. There's a company called Zoom, not the Zoom that does meetings. Good, he says. But it's called Zoom North America. They have a bunch of audio recorders, voice recorders. And these are recorders that professionals and podcasters use, but you don't have to be a podcaster to use them. They start at $100, and they have really, really, really good voice quality and recording. But the reason I'm mentioning them here now is they also, the latest versions, have talking menus. Awesome. Again, another mainstream company who realized that they could sell a whole bunch more stuff if they made it accessible for blind people, right? Really cool they did that. So all of the menus talk, all of the features talk, and it's a really good voice recorder. It's one of the best ones that you're going to find that are out there. So we actually have a couple of them at our table if you want to come by and see them. There's a lot happening in gaming. Just to mention, if you want to play games as a blind or low vision person, that's totally fine. There are many, many more options these days, especially mainstream games that are now accessible. So if you or your kids or grandkids want to play Mortal Kombat 1, well, you can play against them now. It entirely works. It uses audio cues and speech to help you play. I play a game called Hearthstone. Hearthstone is a card battle game where you are battling, you're playing minions and spells and things like that, and you go back and forth. Again, it's a big mainstream game that anyone can play. Now, if that's a little more than you're looking for, there are some simpler games out there. For instance, if you just want to waste some time and just, whatever, I mean, they're all whatever, but there's a game on your phone called Lost Vault. Lost Vault is 2 words. It's what they call a retro role-playing game, RPG. So but it's very simple. You spend a few minutes on it a day. You're building up resources and you're fighting monsters and all that. If you want something even simpler than that, Dice World. So it's a classic. It's been around for a long time. Dice World, you can play games like Yahtzee, Farkle, and others. And all these games work for blind people. They work for sighted people. So you could challenge your friend in Dice World to a game of Yahtzee. And it's kind of a slow play, right? So you do your role, and then the game gets sent off to them. And they could either do it right away or maybe later in the day when they have free time. So it's a slow version of Yahtzee that you both kind of do when you have time. Because it'll send you a thing on your phone, hey, it's your turn, and then you can play. Maybe. So there's a website called audiogames.net. And they have hundreds and hundreds of games, a really active forum, and I do believe there are some chess games that are out there. I'm going to mention just a couple resources, and I'm going to take questions. All right? Just a couple quick things that are available. One, if you're looking for a computer and you don't have a lot of money to spend or you just want to try to dabble into it, there's a place in Texas called Computers for the Blind. and they will sell you, they get off-lease laptops and desktops from businesses that donate them. So these are still computers now from 2020 and 2021. They're good computers, and they're selling them for under $200. So you just call them up, or go to computersfortheblind.com, and they can definitely get you a computer. I should also mention, I mentioned the Blind Bargains podcast earlier, so that's also available. There's one other magazine called Access World, and I say magazine, it's online, it's an e-zine or e-zine, and that just has a lot of reviews and information about technology, so it's another good way to kind of keep up with new stuff. So, like I said, that one is called Access World.
And what was the one before Access World?
I mentioned Blind Bargains, and I mentioned Computers for the Blind.
Got it.
Yep. So I'll give out, once again, I'll give out this site. It's linked. So if you get one website from me, it's bit.ly/visions, VISIONS, So that's bit.ly/VISIONS. That page has pretty much all of the things that I've just mentioned all in one spot. So, see, what time is it right now? Where are we at? I think we're around 2:38. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. We have about 7 minutes or so for questions. And so if you have a question, just say your name so I can recognize you and be happy to take any questions you might have.
Or I'm going to bring around a mic.
Oh, we got a mic too.
If you got a question, go ahead, raise your hand. I'll bring you your mic. You can ask JJ your question.
Please do say your name so we know who we're talking to. And
Right here, coming to you.
all right.
Hi, I'm Lois.
Hi, Lois.
Do they have any apps for trying to learn a different language? Because I used to do Duolingo all the time, but now I can't do it anymore because I can't see it.
Duolingo does work. I have some friends that use it with voiceover.
Yeah.
I am aware of some blind people that use the Duolingo app with voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that one specifically is possible that there are blind people that are using it.
Okay.
So maybe it's just a matter of figuring out how to use it with speech, because you certainly can still use that app.
And I got a question over here.
Hello, this is Elliot Carter. Not so much a question, but I really, really appreciate this presentation, giving a great overview of the different apps and such. If anyone is interested in exploring these a little bit further with some assistance, especially in the apps, some of this hardware is definitely new to me. I do have coworkers who use some of them, though. But we have open computer hours at Disability Network, Washtenaw, Monroe, Livingston, Wednesdays from 11 to 3. Bring your phone. I am here, and I have this list of all these apps, and I can help you sort through them, figure out which one makes sense for you. So stop by our table if you haven't already. Thanks.
Thanks, Elliot. If you get stuck, feel free to contact us at atguys.com if someone's asking you something that you are stuck on.
Questions. I'm coming around to you and here in the front row.
All right.
Which one is it Seeing AI or Be My Eyes that uses the barcode for canned goods?
Seeing AI.
Seeing AI?
Yep.
Okay.
SEEING.
C-E.
Seeing.
E-E-I-N-G.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Now, Be My AI, if you do take a picture of food, because it's describing the picture in a lot of detail, it also will probably, if you point it at food, it would say, this is a bag of Lay's barbecue potato chips. So you could do it that way too. That's the cool thing about these, right? Is sometimes there's several different tools that will all help you in certain ways.
Oh, wow, I got a question back here.
All right.
You can take the mic.
This is Annika.
Hi, Annika.
Thanks for this really helpful presentation and for putting all the links in one place. That's super helpful.
No problem.
I was just searching to try to find the free Braille display program. You said that was through the state library?
Yeah, I put the phone number on there, the 800-992-9012. I think that would be and they're in the room too, upstairs.
Okay.
So Scott's here. Scott Norris is here. And
Booth number 2.
Okay.
There you go.
And second, sort of unrelated question. Do you know of any organizations that provide tandem bikes to people who are blind or visually impaired?
Where do you live?
In Ann Arbor.
Does anyone know of anything local?
You can try geek, P-E-A-C.
BEAC.
Yeah, I don't know if they do tandems, but they do adaptive bikes.
Oh, cool.
For various other kinds of disabilities, and we worked on the past. They've been great.
I've also seen people just have some luck if you just go on Facebook and you find the local bike clubs. Sometimes people are very much willing to
Yeah.
ride in a tandem with someone. I've seen that work as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks for the peak resource.
We've got time for a couple more questions here. Okay, speak now forever. There we
I
go.
got one more. Snuck it in.
Right here.
Hi,
I'm going
Renee.
to give you the mic.
Hi, Renee.
Have you heard of Voice Vista?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Voice Vista. Or did you have a question about it? Or I can.
Well, a friend encouraged me to get it, so I downloaded it, and then it wouldn't shut up. It
So
kept-
Voice Vista is one of a couple of different apps. So there used to be an app called Microsoft Soundscapes, and it did, and now Voice Vista and some others do. Well, essentially, you can wave your phone around in the air or point it in different directions, and it will tell you what's nearby you. And I would probably encourage you, there's a lot of different settings and options to tell it what you want it to say or what you don't want it to say. So it's probably saying more things than you want, and you can go and, a lot of times when I get a new app, go into the settings and see what choices you have, because you probably just want to turn some things off. Because Voice Vista is a really cool app. It is a little complex to learn at the beginning, but it could be really cool for walking around places.
Okay, so because I'm looking for a good navigation app.
Yeah, it's good for real time, nearby stuff. It's good if you're walking down the street. You want it to start telling you all the things that you're going by. It's really
Okay.
good for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any more?
Yep, I'm coming around to you here.
I got one more.
And you can take the mic.
Think this will be our last one, Jake? We're out of time.
Yep.
The Blind Square, is that sort of comparable to the Vistas?
Yeah, Blind Square is another one. It's a paid app. So Voice Vista is free.
Right here.
Blind Square does a little more with GPS. I'm not even sure what the price is anymore, but I know it's relatively expensive. But yeah, that's another option that's available. So there are a lot of navigation apps that are out there as well. Apple Viz, again, is a great resource to find a lot of these. All right. So,
Alrighty, how about a round of applause for JJ?
awesome. I just want to give out. Thank you, Jacob. I just want to give out. Again, so was there anyone here that did not get that website? I can I'm sorry? The website with all the links on it. bit.ly/visionsat. / Yeah, it's always / on a website. Always / bit.ly/visionsat. Yep, that has everything. And feel free to reach out. You can. Not at the end. Feel free to reach out if anyone has any questions. I'm always happy, and we'll be upstairs until 4 at table 21. Stay tuned. You got another presentation coming up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.